All right, hi, I'm Paul, I'm a physical therapist, and I'm over at Trek today, and we have Jeremy. So Jeremy's going to talk to us today a little bit more about cycling, and especially for people who are just getting into the sport, and that can be, primarily one of the big focuses from me as a physical therapist and sort of a middle-aged athlete, if you will, is what kind of bike should I buy? And when I look at people who are coming into the office for the first time, I want to know essentially, like, what's the best thing for them, because obviously there are different bikes that suit different people, and since I'm not an expert, Jeremy is. So there you go. Yeah.
So with picking out a bike, we ask some questions. It's always question based. There's no just, hey, let's just get you a bike. Now in the world of bikes, there's a whole bunch of different bikes where, do you want to ride in the dirt? Do you want to ride on the road? Are you a little bit more casual? Things like that.
Sure.
Where it's not one mold anymore, where like you just show them to a bike shop and there's, hey, I want a men's bike or I want a women's bike. There's too many different options, and bikes work for all different people now too.
Right.
So it's like they have a low step that started as, they called it a female bike. But now there's...
That's the low step is the one that's got... It comes down and it's like a step through design.
Yeah, it's like a step through.
Yeah.
And that's where it moved its name to, is now the step through, where it doesn't have that top bar where you have to swing your leg over.
Yeah, they used to call it the female bike.
Yeah, they
exactly.
did.
Yeah.
But now there's a lot of people with hip issues that swinging their leg over the bike is really difficult. So having that step through version makes it a lot easier to get on and get started.
Yeah. So one of the things that I see, because I see a lot of people with hip injuries and hip replacements and such, and I tell them that, you can get a bike that has like a step through, and they always come back and say, well, isn't that a girl's bike?
Yeah, and they kind of went away from that.
Yeah.
And now they have different colors and things like that too, to make it a little bit more personal and a little bit more customizable too.
Yeah, that's one of the battles I see, is kind of fighting a little bit with, the preconceived notions of what a bike is for a male and a female and that type of stuff. And I think that, you're probably the better judge. I think that's kind of changed a little bit.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. There's no one or the other. It's a bike for everybody, and it's customizable to make it suit everybody, because people have different shoulder widths, different things, different body physiques that we could adapt to one bike and make it for someone.
Okay, so there's different fitting techniques.
Correct.
All right. What's kind of like a standard bike? Let's say someone who just doesn't want to spend a lot of money necessarily.
Yeah. And
they want to get into doing some biking. I think maybe their goal of being like 3 or 4 miles or something like that, because they're not physically fit.
Definitely.
What type of thing would you kind of recommend for someone like that?
Yeah. So then there we would move into more of like our hybrid bikes.
Okay.
So these are your can-do-all bikes.
Okay.
These are bikes that are perfect for around the neighborhood, around the park, campgrounds, things like that. And then within that hybrid, you have different models that branch out. So like Trek has 3 different ones.
Okay.
One's more of your road bike style, which is primarily on the road. Then you have your dual sport, which it's in the name dual sport. So half gravel, half road. So you could take it on both surfaces.
So and those ones are, their frame design's a little bit different, obviously, right? And do they usually have like that front shock?
Yep, they have
going?
the front shock on it. It's actually like one of these guys here.
All right, we'll pull that out in a bit and we'll check it out.
Yeah, so it has dirt tires on it, things like that.
Right, and you said there's a third tire.
Yeah, and then the third one is our Verve, but that's more of your comfort style.
Okay.
So that one's kind of a little bit more performance style of a beach cruiser. So you could still go up hills and be a little bit more efficient, but have that comfortability of a beach cruiser.
Okay.
So those are probably the main 3 bikes that I would show someone that says, I'm just looking for a bike.
Right.
Yeah.
And those are all kind of in a price range that is people who are coming into bike, they don't have to worry about like being blown away.
Yeah, they don't have to worry about shelling out $1,000 or as much to buy a car for one of these bikes. It's a good bike that you could get, and the nice thing is it's a next level up kind of bike. So let's say something happens to the bike, it's easier to fix it and it's tunable. Where on some of the bikes that you would get from like a big box office store, if something breaks on it, it's easier just to replace it rather than fixing it.
Sure.
So on these guys, it's just a little bit more performance oriented and a little bit higher quality.
Yeah, that's why one of the reasons why I wanted to come and talk to you specifically here at Trek is because I own Trek's bike, so
Yeah.
I can attest to it, is that when you buy a bike that's comfortable for you and it fits you, you want to be on the bike.
No, exactly.
And if you don't get a bike that doesn't fit you, or you get a bike that doesn't fit you, I should say, I can't even speak anymore, but is that you don't want to be on it. And if and you just go, this is just drudgery.
No.
So you want to make something, you want to have something that you can have, it's fun to be on. If it's not fun,
Exactly.
and this is where I think the why I really love my Trek bike. Yeah, beyond anything else.
No,
It's
and that's the big thing is you want it to fit. You don't want it to hop on and have a sore back or things like that.
Correct.
And you also want it to look good too. So if you're really in love with your bike, it's not just going to sit in the garage as a clothes hanger. It's going to be, you're going to be riding it. You're going to hop on and be like, you know what, today I'm going to go for a bike ride, or today I'm going to go ride to the farmer's market and pick something up and ride it home, or go get coffee with friends, things like that.
Yeah.
So having something comfortable that is there to hop on and it feels like just like you're at home on the bike. That's
Right.
the big thing.
Yeah,
That's the goal.
And I think sometimes people get the mentality, I think what scares them off sometimes from biking is that when you see so much in the biking community, it's about racing, and everybody's about trying to be how fast they can be. And me as a middle-aged athlete, I kind of get into that mindset of like, how fast can I go, But for people who are trying to get fit, like you've got to get off the couch, and let's say you've got a issue with your knees or your hips or your ankles, especially those particular body parts, like learning, like we're going to look at today is a few bikes right now, but we're going to talk about like why it's so important that you don't have to go in with that mentality of blasting every hill and working really hard, but the fitness benefits that you get from biking are immense, even at quote a moderate level or a light level. It's just a matter of not blasting yourself out, and that's something that we're going to talk about eventually. And I've been sort of alluding to on some other previous videos I did about how to work cadence and this type of stuff to maintain a right level. Definitely. But anyway, that's a different story. Yeah. But we're going to talk about the bikes a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. So I think we had one that we wanted to show.
Yeah, I had the Dual Sport that I pointed to earlier.
Yeah.
That we could grab.
Okay, so that's the Dual Sport that's in front of us.
Yeah.
All right, and we've got how many speeds there again?
This one is going to be 18. So it's 2 in the front with 9 in the back. Bad math.
Okay.
So this is good gearing to get up any hill that's in our local area, because we do live in a hilly area out in the valleys.
Yeah.
So do need some gears to get up. And then paired with all the gears, we have hydraulic disc brakes on it. So just like what you would find on your car. So great stopping power. The traditional brakes were with cables, and you could get that same power out of that with just one finger, rather than having to squeeze with many fingers. The on the road and off road has 3 gears in the front. Then we have some in the back. All different models have different ones. So like this one in particular has 2 in the front with 9 in the back. So definitely a good ratio to go uphill and downhill. And then right there, we're looking at the front shock. So when you do take it off-road, it has that shock absorbing, so it doesn't destroy your hands and get your hands really numb over the bumps.
This is the Trek Verve.
Yeah.
The Verve 1, yeah. And this one here has that kind of step-through design.
Yep, the step-through design to make it easy to get on and off.
Right.
Instead of swinging your leg over.
Yep. And it looks like it's got a nice little adjustable seat here. It's got a higher stem than the previous bike that we saw.
Correct.
So this will keep the body a little more upright.
Definitely, a little bit more upright. As you can see, that the handlebars are definitely way higher than the seat. So a little bit taller of a bike for that comfortability of it.
Okay, so that's something that people look for is if you're looking for more of a comfort bike for yourself, is stem higher than seat.
Correct.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the big goal behind this bike, is to get you sitting upright, kind of like a beach cruiser, but also having more of those gear options, a little bit thinner tire than a beach cruiser would have, just to make it easier to go up the hills and a little bit more efficient.
Right.
So that's the big goal behind this bike, is to be more efficient, to cruise around, good around the park, neighborhood, campground kind of bike.
Right.
Where you can hop on it and basically just go.
And for this type of bike, would you recommend like... Is this a bike that you would want to do like 4 or 5 miles on, or 10 miles on? Like, where would you say that?
I think the max of this bike would probably be about that 10-15 mile range.
Right,
yeah, where it's made for cruising around. It's
Right.
not made for those long distances.
Right.
That's the big thing behind this bike.
So if someone goes with a mindset of, I want to buy a bike and go 20 miles today, this wouldn't be the bike you
wouldn't recommend this
wouldn't
bike.
recommend this bike.
Definitely can be done. But if you're going for that amount of time and distance, getting something more efficient would be the way to go.
Got it.
Where
Right. Okay.
it's more of the road that's causing the fatigue on your legs, not the bike slowing you down to cause that fatigue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So this one here, then, if I would say I'm going to recommend people coming in who, let's say they've had a total hip or a total knee, and they want to do, and let's say you're pretty sedentary overall, and this is a great starter bike. This seems like a really good option to purchase over, let's say, something that's like a full-on road bike, if you will, that
Definitely.
You're going to have struggle with, or because you don't necessarily have the fitness for that just yet.
Yeah.
This is a great little fitness builder, and it will help you kind of achieve some of those goals of being able to walk a little bit better and to be a little more stable, get the legs working, and without wiping you out necessarily.
For sure. I would say this would be like a good stepping stone bike.
Correct.
Where if you want to take your biking to the next level, this is a good bike to start out and see if you like it, and then move on from there.
Right.
Or for fitness aspects of it.
And the great thing about Trek bikes is that if you do go that route, they have great resale value. So you really don't lose a lot of investment by purchasing something like this, and then selling it off when you're ready, if you want to move to the next level, because again, buying a quality bike is always in demand.
That's the big thing. Always. It's always in demand, and there's people that are buying bikes like crazy right now because of COVID, where they could only walk around the block so many times, where people are using bikes as more of a fitness aspect, where gyms were closed, things like that, where it's another way to get out and explore. So
absolutely, I've never seen the street so busy with bikes.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable around here, people. It's the craziest thing. It doesn't have to even be on a weekend. I ride at 4 o'clock in the morning often, and there are bikes out on the street. And there's Pelotons out on the street. I see them all the time.
Yeah, no,
at
definitely.
4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, no, for
fantastic.
sure. So it's people out there, and it's nice. It's bringing the families out there too, where mom and dad and the little ones are out there pedaling around, which is nice to see.
Yeah,
that's the big thing.
Even that, like what you just said, like even mom and dad pedaling around with their kids.
Yeah.
That for a lot of parents, that's a really good fitness start. If you get a half an hour of that in a few times a week, you're starting to hit your fitness goal.
It's perfect.
Which is fantastic. And this is why something like this really makes sense.
Exactly. This is an FX4.
Right?
This one is one of our higher models of it. We're working on bringing more in because it's a very popular bike.
Okay.
This guy here is basically a road bike geometry with a straight handlebar for the comfort side of things.
Okay.
So very equivalent to a road bike that you would probably see in like Tour de France, just scaled down just a little bit more for the comfort, which is the cool thing. So it has some speed to it, perfect for going around the lake. I'm gonna put this bike in distance category that you could do, I'm gonna say 20 to 40 miles and do it comfortable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this is for someone then who is who's got some has a base of fitness.
Correct.
So if I was just the guy just coming off the couch, it's probably not the bike for me.
Probably not. You could definitely be done. It's you would be buying a bike a couple steps ahead to eventually grow into it, with aspirations of growing into it.
Okay.
That's the big thing. And that's what we try to do with our customers too, is buying a bike that might be one step ahead, so then you could grow into it, where it's not like buying another bike really quick.
Right.
That's the goal, is to have longevity of owning a bike.
Exactly.
That's
I think that when I was purchasing my bikes, that one of the things that I was kind of really worried about was underspending. I was worried that I was going to buy a bike and then I was going to outgrow it too quickly.
Yeah.
And that actually happened. I did have that happen to me, and I went and I thought, well, yeah, maybe if I would have bought this bike as my first bike, I would probably still have this bike today, because it would have been a better choice for me than the first one that I chose.
Yeah.
Which I didn't buy the first one from Trek, which obviously was a mistake because somebody pointed me in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
And I wasn't knowledgeable enough, and that's the point of doing this, to know that something like this would have been more within my line of thinking.
Definitely, and like that's kind of how it works here with us. Here, we all ride. None of us, we all ride. Like that's after work we go for a ride. Before work we're riding. So we know what bikes are needed. So coming in with those questions, and we're going to ask you questions like, hey, what kind of riding style are you looking to do? That's the big thing, and pointing the direction in that right bike, so then they don't buy the bike and be like, hey, a month later I think I got the right one. I want to make sure that you leave the store happy and with the bike that fits your needs and goals, because that's the biggest thing.
And I wish I did that the first time. Luckily it was at the beginning of the pandemic. I bought the bike and I was able to resell it at basically what I paid for it. Yeah. But then I got a better bike for me in the end. You know? Now this is a gorgeous little piece here. Yeah. So this is an FX, and it's got this great, this is that top tube geometry you talked about. We look at the stem here, which is shorter than the seat, so it's a little more aggressive design.
Yeah, a little bit more aggressive. Right. The handlebars are relatively similar to the seat height. Okay. So more for that kind of fitness and a little bit more of that speed, more efficient kind of pedaling. Yeah. That's the goal behind it. Right, and then this little piece here, as it comes out a little bit further. I think so people, when you're buying a bike, you can kind of look at, I don't know, what do you call that piece? I don't know what that is. This is the stem. That is, well, I knew that. Oh, I thought that's. Oh, this is the stack here. Oh, okay. Yep. The stem and the stack. Yep. Okay, right. All right, stem and stack. I don't know. No, you're good. No. Hey, we're learning. We're all learning together. I don't know how to build a bike before I'm all done. I'm gonna be working. Forget my job. I'm gonna get working here. That's way too much fun. So, look at the way the stem is, guys. It's like you can see that it's a little elongated as compared to some of the other ones that we saw, and so that it also gives you the idea that this is, you're going to be a little bit more forward on this. Correct. And so that will give you that ability to produce a little bit more power into the wheels, into the cassette. Yeah. And you can also notice down here. Yes. Single chain ring. Chain ring. See, I'm blanking too. Oh my gosh. I thought that was the only one that was blanking. This has a single chain ring right there. Right there. And the cassette back here. Correct. And you can probably see back here, you'll have a little bit bigger gear on that back piece, so that's going to help you go up the hills. So that gives a little more, some flexibility, where you would have the other piece was with a double or a triple in there. Yep. So you have the that way of doing it. But I think one of the advantages of the single chain rings is that it produces less tension on the chain. So the chain can last longer. Yeah, and it simplifies it. There's only one shifting that you have to worry about instead of worrying about the front and the back. Yeah. All you do is shift the back. Yeah. So it makes it really simplified, where anybody could just hop on the bike and go. Yeah. That's the nice thing behind that one-by system. Yep. That's the preferred system for me anyway, because I like simple. Yeah, it just makes it easy, and less things to go wrong and things like that. So more efficient, less things to go wrong, less moving parts that you have to grease and oil. So yeah, it's just a beauty. This is a beauty of a bike, people. This is just gorgeous. Yeah. Yeah. So we have in front of us something that's very relatively new in the biking world. Well, maybe not that new in the biking world, but new in these configurations. This is an e-bike. And which one is this one now? This is the Verve Plus 3. Verve Plus 3. So just like the white Verve that we were showing, this is the e-bike version of it. The e-bike version of it. Yep. This is fantastic. So what a machine this looks. I love the color too. Yeah, it's gorgeous. It is super gorgeous. So tell us a little bit about the e-bike of the Verve. So the e-bike of the Verve here, it has a battery in the down tube here.
Okay.
And then also the motor down in the cranks. Okay. So it's behind this plate here.
Okay.
So the goal with having that lower battery and that lower motor is to make it ride like a regular bike. Because with the motor and the battery, we're adding about an extra 25 to 30 pounds onto a bike. So this guy here weighs about 50 pounds.
Ooh, that's heavy, right?
It's a heavy bike.
Yeah.
So, but having that weight lower, it brings that center of gravity down. So it'll ride similar just to the regular Verve itself. So very easy to maneuver. And then with that motor, it makes it a lot easier to have a smooth cadence. Cadence is how many pedal strokes do you have throughout a minute. So you have nice pedal strokes through it. So instead of going up a hill on a regular bike, it feels like sometimes you're going upstairs where you're pushing on the pedals really hard. This makes it easier to make that smooth transition while pedaling.
Right.
The smooth circles.
So look, there's a lot of types of bikes out there, and e-bikes, and some of them have these big hub motors that are in the back.
Yep.
So I wanted to kind of make this little distinction for people because they kind of get confused. This bike is not an electric moped.
No.
Right?
No.
Right?
You have to be pedaling.
You have to be pedaling. If you don't pedal, this doesn't go anywhere.
Definitely.
Now, the unit down here would, some people call it a motor, but I'm going to actually modify that a little bit because I think it's more of a pedal assist unit.
Definitely.
Because a motor kind of implies that it's doing the work for you. But from what I understand about e-bikes, which is a lot, I think, overall. But what this does is it will amplify the torque that you put into it. So if you don't put into it, you're not going to get out of it.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. The best kind of way to describe it is almost like having a third leg. So it's just giving you that extra little boost to get up the hill. So you have to be pedaling for the motor to work. You don't have a throttle on it like a motorcycle.
Right.
You have to be pedaling.
Exactly.
So you just can't sit back and relax and it take you. That's not the point of this. The point of this is to get you out going longer distances, up those longer hills, things like that. Instead of on your regular bike, you can make it up the first hill, but then you're tired by the second. This is to get you to the third hill. That's the big goal.
Something like this, and hopefully with Jeremy, we can talk about e-bikes more in general at a different time. But because I'm actually a huge proponent of them, and but I can say like the e-bike experience is excellent. What it does do, and especially for people who are considering like I want to get into better shape, and I'm really out of shape. And sometimes, just buying the bikes that we just saw earlier are a fantastic option, and that's a direction you can go. For other people, you should really consider an e-bike because it's not like you don't get a workout on it. You absolutely get an amazing workout on these devices. Yeah. What it will do for you, and just like Jeremy said, is that it will get you out of the house because it's super fun, and it will help you get over some of the hills, especially if you live in a hilly area, that would make bike riding less enjoyable for you. Definitely. And if the point is for fitness, you really get a high-end, class-leading fitness experience on this. And you can go further and see more, which is really a wonderful unit about a pedal assist type of bicycle.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And that's the goal behind it is to get you out there longer.
Yeah. Where
it turns your half an hour ride into an hour and a half ride, where you just want to hop on and you just enjoy it.
Yeah.
It puts a big smile on your face.
It sure does, yeah.
Like when we take a customer out for the first time riding one of these, we tell them like, get ready. It's almost like going to Disneyland and having fun on the rides just without having to wait in line. Right. You just get on it and go. It puts a smile on your face.
It sure does.
It just naturally does.
Yeah.
But again, you still have to put the work into it.
Yeah.
It's not like you just sit there. You have to pedal. Yeah. And you get your workout, and it just makes it more enjoyable.
Now, what would you say for like a bike like this with the battery pack being here? What would you say in your experience, that when most people go out for a ride or something like that, what would be their length of time or that battery would last?
That battery lasts, it all depends on what modes you run it in.
Sure.
So there's 4 modes on this guy here. So there's Eco, Tour, Sport, and Turbo. If you run it on Eco, which is our minimal assist, and we have a light hilly area, you could get about 40 to 60 miles on it, depending on how hard you're pushing. If you put it in turbo and run it in turbo, like for this guy, you would get about 15 to 20 miles. So you could get some real mileage on. So,
oh yeah.
And that's the goal behind it, is just when you start to get tuckered out, you have that little fallback to get you home. That's the big goal.
That is something that's fantastic about it. So if you do find that you're getting tired, you can ask the bike to do a little more.
Yeah.
You know, you can ask the bike to do that. And you can hang back a little bit. But at the same time, you can actually put more into it if you want to. And there's different variances, but we'll talk at a different time about that part. But I just wanted people to see, like, this is, as a new rider or someone who's an older rider, and again, it spans the different age ranges. And if the point is to have fun while you're trying to get fit, these are an amazing option. Now, they're not cheap. No one's gonna pretend that these are not an inexpensive piece.
Yeah.
But they are, in terms of like how you're going to end up using the bike overall. I think there's a huge amount of value in these things if you can swing it. You know, that's just kind of my opinion.
Definitely. What you get out of the bike is definitely worth the money.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. Health reasons and the enjoyment of the bike. It's definitely worth it. I have an e-bike as well, something similar to this called the Elant. And I ride from Simi to work, and I use that as my commuter.
Yeah, I follow him on Strava, and he took one of my KOs on his Elant.
Yeah, so it's fun. It's another, but it's awesome. Like, it's de-stress to ride home from work. It's a mini vacation.
Yeah.
Where then I could go and pedal hard and go for it. So it gives me a little bit more motivation, which is nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted just to make sure we saw these type today, so we could talk about them, and hopefully we'll have another discussion in the future about e-bikes in general, because there's a lot, I think, misconceptions. I think we could have a really good chit chat about that.
No, for sure. Definitely.
In a episode. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So people think about this in all seriousness between all the different types of bikes. You may start off with just seeing if you like biking enough that you want to go here, or come in to a Trek store near you. And try one. But I also want to just put it out there that I know a lot of people buy the ones with the rear hubs. And I've ridden some of those rear hub ones, and they're very heavy in the back end, and they are also makes them really wonky to turn.
Yeah, it makes it a little wobbly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You really find it's very uncentered, and you know, the fact that a lot of them also are, they call them a class 2 bike, and we'll get into the classes again, but those types of bikes end up, because you're using a throttle and such, becomes kind of like an electric moped at some point. So if you're looking for health benefits from it, it is nice to get out, and you can do an assist with those types of bikes. But it's chalk and cheese when you're talking about this, this Trek here, compared to any of those types of rear hub bikes.
Correct.
So yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there and talk about it real quick.
No,
so,
for sure. And there's plenty of options. Yeah. That's the cool thing with these guys now. It's not. It started out as the mountain bikes, and now it's transferred all the way to the Verve. We have beach cruisers that have them. So almost any bike under the sun has an e-bike version of it.
Yeah. You see the mountain bikes now. That's like all I see on the trails now is guys on that. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can. I mean, it's like you said. You know, there's a big difference between going out on a 10-mile mountain bike ride, or going on a 35-mile mountain bike ride. It's a big difference, and it's a lot of fun. You know, to be able to go and see more of nature, and you know, not just blasting down a trail or something like that, but just being able to go out and see and explore the world, and I think that's really a big plus.
No, and that's the big thing, is you can go out into the mountains where not that many people go, where like I live in Simi, right down the street, and you could go back in the mountains and you find like old mining tractors and stuff like that
Absolutely.
no one would ever see. But since you have the e-bike or even a mountain bike, you could go out there and just get lost and explore, and it's amazing. It's a mini vacation on a bike.
Exactly what it is.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Jeremy, for having us
You're
today
welcome,
and coming in. This is fantastic.
That was awesome.
I really appreciate this so much,
Yeah.
and I hope I can do it again with you more.
Definitely.